Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. No, the title was not clickbait. It is a real question that I've been asked more than once, and I keep in my mind, and that is, at what distance, at what distance would you be considered not using self-defense, lethal force, or you'd be considered a murderer? Beyond a certain distance, what would that be? And I will say that the greater the distance from you, the greater the probability that you should not be using deadly force with a handgun, right? And we're talking about handguns, right? And we'll put long guns in there in a minute, but in this case, it's handguns. And the reason for that is, in most cases, the following definition of the use of deadly force applies. And that is where you perceive the threat of imminent serious bodily injury or death to yourself or an innocent. That means somebody else. It does not mean, except in Texas, the protection of property. So we're not going to talk about property protection. We're talking about human protection. Imminent means it's about to happen right now. It's good to keep that in mind. It's about, the threat is about to touch you right now. Right? Now, what defines the threat? Well, if you've been to training, concealed carry, or other kinds of training in this area for handguns, or primarily for handguns, concealed carry, whatever. There are three things that have to be in place before the thing becomes a threat. The first one is, does that person, we'll call it a person, have the ability to deliver serious bodily injury or death to you? Do they have the ability to do that? Do they have some kind of weapon? Are they bigger than you? Do they have the ability? The second is, do they have the opportunity? Well, the opportunity means they are in the same area that you are, the same physical area. Do they have the opportunity? I'll take the example, there's a person across the street from you, and they're behind the car on the sidewalk, and they have a katana, right? Do they have the ability? Yes. Do they have the opportunity? Yes. Right? The third one is the threat imminent? Now, as long as they stay across the street, they can wave that katana, talk about my mother, all that kind of stuff. I can't use deadly force because the threat, even though they have the ability and the opportunity because they're there, the threat is not imminent. That's where the distance comes in, right? If the person's a mile away in doing that, do I get in my sniper position and get my optics out and take them out with my, Creedmoor? No, right? If they're, 10 feet away with a katana, damn right, So you see what I'm getting at? The imminence part, the it's going to happen right now matters. And it is affected by distance. It's affected by distance. Now, there's a threat to you, your person, but then don't forget, you can use deadly force in the protection of the innocent or others that you believe to be innocent or an innocent. There's an example of that happened 2 years ago. A young man in a mall walking with his girlfriend, and there was an active shooter in the food court. And this young man, I don't know how he did it. I don't know what pistol he used, but he used a pistol and put 9 out of 10 rounds on target at 40 yards. That is what was reported. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to take a shot with iron sights at 40 yards. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Because I don't know what was on this person's, did he have optics? I don't know. But the fact is that the threat was imminent to others as well as himself. So at 40 yards, using a handgun, he could take the shot. That's rare, by the way. But that's an example. You're in an active shooter threat situation, and you have the ability to stop the threat against yourself and others. Outside of that, you don't. Let's say that your neighbor is walking around in their yard with a long gun or a pistol, and they're schizophrenic or whatever, and they're mad about something, and they're verbally threatening, but the firearm is a pistol, it's in the holster, and then they take it out and it's in their hand. Can you shoot them? No. Right? Why? Well, until the barrel points at you, they're not an imminent. It's not going to happen right now. You see what I'm getting at? Now let's talk about using a long gun, because a lot of us like to practice with our ARs and AK variants at some distance. My distance is 100 yards, because to me that's urban combat. But understand the language. I am no longer in a self-defense mode. I am in an attack mode. So I am no longer a citizen doing self-defense. I'm part of a kinetic offense against an enemy. Two separate cases. So what is the distance with a handgun? Well, a lot of it depends on your skill. I'm going to say, for me personally, 25 yards, max. Why? That's what law enforcement trains to, but I'm not law enforcement. But from a practical point of view, the range that I go to, in most ranges where you're going to be practicing with a handgun, that's the distance of their lane. That's it. Now, if you have other places you can go, that's great. That's the maximum distance that you can acquire a target, that you can look at it and you can determine that the threat is imminent. Remember, 25 yards is 5 seconds if the person is running and they're not an Olympic sprinter. It's going to be about 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a long time, right? 5 seconds is a long time. Is that a time enough? Well, if the person is running toward you, right, is inside 25 yards considered imminent if they're running towards you with a blade, or if it's a gun and it's pointed to you, absolutely. Right? So this is something that, this idea of what is the distance? What is the distance? Let's come back. The threat of imminent, it's going to happen right now. Threat, serious bodily injury or death to you or an innocent. And the threat is defined as having the ability to deliver serious bodily injury or death to you or innocent. The opportunity means they are there to do that. And third, it's imminent. It's about to happen now. It's about to happen now. So put those two pieces together, and then that should inform your judgment about should I shoot or not shoot. So thanks for coming back to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and as always, wherever you can, whenever you can, however you can, carry on.